So after the whole debacle with addicted banning and cancellation, Chinese BLs had to be more careful with their subject matter. I can't speak on every single Chinese BL that has ever released since then, but from what I've gathered, a lot of them, especially the higher budget ones, are much more restrained with how they convey the love part of boys' love, often relying more on subtext to get the point across. This is most evident when we look at certain adaptations. For context, there's this genre within Chinese literature called danme. Danme is basically BL in written form. It's all about gay romances, with some being more sexually explicit than others. Anyways, some of these works end up receiving a live-action adaptation. The thing is, as you can guess, it's probably not going to be a one-to-one match. Changes will have to be made, with said changes usually involving the removal of explicit gay scenes from the narrative. As a replacement, we instead get a more platonic rendition of these characters, a bromance, if you will. And from this point on, it now falls on us, as the viewers, to derive meaning from this relationship, to really take in the subtext that still lingers and extract all the gayness from it. Only then can we, as a people, be satiated. Having said all that, I think it's time we talk about one of these BLs in particular, the Untamed. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting one for me to talk about, mainly because I don't really have much of a prior history with this show. I knew that it existed and that it was popular, but that was pretty much it. I just didn't feel all that compelled to check it out for whatever reason, and I just forgot about it. It wasn't until I made my video on Addicted, however, where I started to get curious, whether it be my drama list or the Boys Love subreddit. I would hear nothing but good things about this show, with some even going as far to call it a masterpiece. And I'm like, okay, alright, I see you. Let me give this show a watch, see what it's all about. And the very first thing I noticed when checking it out was the amount of episodes, 50. And each episode was around 45 minutes long, so suffice to say, I was kind of gagged, but also intrigued. Like, that just made me more curious, honestly. So I spent the following 2 weeks watching it, got through the whole series, and nothing could have prepared me for the journey this show took me on. Before I really get into it, let me give you some background. The Untamed is a 2019 live-action series and adaptation of the danme novel Mo Zushi, or Grandmaster of Dynamic Cultivation in English. The novel was authored by Mo Xiang Tong Xiu, who's pretty well known and respected in the danme scene. Also, apologies in advance if I pronounce any of the names wrong throughout this video. There's a lot of characters in the Untamed, so it's bound to happen at some point. Another thing to note is the choice of genre, which is not entirely clear to me if I'm being honest. On the one hand, I've seen both the original novel and TV adaptation labeled as xianxia, specifically the spirit cultivation subgenre. So basically we're talking about supernatural martial arts, high fantasy, magic, that sort of thing. On the other hand though, xianxia also emphasizes a quest for immortality aspect for the main heroes by improving one's skills and abilities, which I didn't really get when watching the Untamed. It could just be an exception to the rule, but I have to wonder if it's more accurate to label it a wuxia instead, with the high fantasy elements of xianxia sprinkled in. I think that's where I'm gonna classify it, but I'd certainly be interested in what you think in the comments below. Regardless, there's this very good Tumblr post by Bingley Charles I just discovered that delves into this some more, along with some key terms and definitions used by the show. I think this is a great resource to have. I went into the Untamed blind, so there were some words I was confused about at first. So if you'd like some extra help before starting this show, I've linked the Tumblr post in the description below. Finally, this is my warning to you guys that this video will contain spoilers. I'll try to stay mainly within the beginning arcs of the show, but there might be some out of context scenes here and there, so do consider yourself warned. Goes without saying, but you can watch all of the Untamed on YouTube, so if you want to do that first, then go for it. Alright, enough blabbering, let's get into this. So, one thing about the Untamed is that it doesn't really ease you into the plot. No, it literally smacks you with a large-scale battle scene. Everyone is fighting, with some trying to retrieve this weird artifact called the Stygon Tiger Amulet. And off to the side, we see Wei Wuxian, or Wei Ying, as I'll call him for brevity, overlook the battle. He's also more infamously known as the Yiling Patriarch by his enemies. Wei Ying, in a state of resigned despair, proceeds to throw himself off the cliffside, but someone catches him, a man in white. This man is known as Lan Wangji, or Lan Zhan as I'll be calling him. Even with a bloody arm, Lan Zhan tries to hold on to Wei Ying, but his grasp is ultimately lost when another guy, Jiang Cheng, comes between these two, striking his sword and separating the two. And so, Wei Ying falls to his death and 16 years pass. Okay, before I go on, if you're watching this series for the first time, then these first 2 episodes are probably gonna leave you a bit confused. I credit this mainly to the fact that the story doesn't start in chronological order, so the context for certain names, places, clans, all that won't immediately register. You're likely gonna feel a bit lost, and honestly, that's normal. Just trust the process, don't feel too stressed out to understand everything. In time, as you familiarize yourself with the plot and characters, you'll get it. Anyways, back to the plot. We fast forward 16 years and see the disciples of the Gusu Lan sect listen to some elder recount Wei Ying's demise. I'll get more into the different sects within this world later, but just know that this is one of the 5 main sects. The disciples are actually visiting Mo village with a purpose in mind. Evil spirits are out here causing a mess, so the disciples are meeting with the Mo family to help resolve the issue. The 2 more prominent disciples from this group are Lan Jingyi and Lan Suji. Something else going on within the Mo family residence, however, is that of a summoning. To recount, Mo Xiang, the nephew/cousin of the main Mo family, has just performed a summoning ritual. He has summoned the soul of Wei Ying with the express purpose of seeking out revenge for those that have wronged Mo Xiang in his life. Mo Xiang himself is sacrificed in the process, and Wei Ying now finds himself within Mo Xiang's body, with 4 cuts on his arms signifying the 4 people that must die before the cuts can heal. So, the interesting thing about this is that the actor that plays Wei Ying, Jiao Zhan, is also the same actor that plays Mo Xiang. So when this possession scene occurs, it doesn't really look like Wei Ying is in the body of someone different. He just looks like Wei Ying. I know in the novel that Mo Xiang appears physically different from Wei Ying, but maybe for this adaptation, they changed it to where the possession ritual also transferred Wei Ying's physical features as well. That's just the observation that makes the most sense to me. And since Mo Xiang was described in the past as always wearing either a mask or powder to obstruct his face, people in the Mo residence wouldn't really bat an eye since they don't actually know what he really looks like. I believe that's what the show is going for, but certainly let me know in the comments below. Now that Wei Ying is back from the dead, he starts to gather that some of the folks targeted for revenge are likely the Mo family themselves, considering that they don't really treat Mo Xiang all that well. Especially the cousin, who barged into his room earlier, stole some of his stuff, and said some mean shit to him. Fast forward to nighttime, we see our disciples in formation to combat the evil spirits by luring them in with their special flags. However, that cousin from before decides to be stupid and has his subordinates steal one of the flags instead of staying inside like they were supposed to. This causes him to become possessed by evil, rendering him as a puppet. His mom and dad also succumb to this possession, and now it's a matter of subduing them before they cause more problems. Lan Xichen sends out a signal requesting for backup, and Wei Ying uses his own spell to pit the captured father and son against the mother. So they fight, and just when the mom is about to strike one of the disciples, the man of the hour arrives, the second young master himself, Lan Zhan. His intro is just so graceful, and the music that plays here is also really dreamy. And it goes without saying, but what a beautiful man. Like, my word. I mean, the cast in general is drop dead gorgeous, so I can't even be surprised, but I just had to say it. Anyways, he uses his own magical chin, a 7-stringed instrument, to defeat the puppet family with ease. Retrieving the sword left from the ground, Lan Zhan determines that this whole ruckus stemmed from the energy of a first-class spiritual tool encased within the sword he's holding. The sword in question has a trace of the Stygon Tiger Amulet, which kind of alerts everyone, as this implies that the Yiling Patriarch himself, Wei Ying, might be back again due to his strong association with the artifact. Wei Ying takes this as his cue to escape, and the following morning he departs with a new donkey companion. Oh, and the Mo family from before are dead. 3 of Wei Ying's cuts have healed, leaving just 1. Who that cut is associated with is still a mystery. During his journey, Wei Ying, now wearing Mo Xiang's mask again to conceal his identity, and his donkey companion, who is later named Apple, come across Dafan Mountain. There, a night hunt is ongoing. Basically, different sects are competing against one another on who can exorcise the greatest amount of evil beings. Just an aside, it's called a night hunt, but they're doing it during daylight. I don't know, I just thought that was kind of funny. Anyways, it appears one clan has the upper hand by setting up over 400 nets across the mountain, to the point where others participating could easily be caught up in the traps. One of those responsible for the nets is Jin Ling, from the Lanling Jin sect. He's familiar with Mo Xiang's less than stellar reputation and proceeds to act bratty toward him. Wei Ying snaps back, they get in a bit of a skirmish, and Wei Ying uses a paper man spell to prevent Jinling from getting up. After using Jinling's sword to free some trapped cultivators from the nets, someone else arrives at the scene. Clan leader Jiang Cheng from the Yunmeg Jiang sect. Yeah, remember him? The guy that made Wei Ying fall to his death 16 years ago? That guy. He's also Jinling's uncle, and another person responsible for all the nets scattered across the mountain. If you thought Jinling was bratty, Jiang Cheng is even worse. Very pissy and just generally has a bad attitude. After releasing Jinling from that paper man spell, Jinling tries to strike Wei Ying, but is intercepted by Lan Zhan, who is also here along with his disciples. Wei Ying goes to hide, and Jiang Cheng proceeds to have a tense conversation with Lan Zhan. Well, not really a conversation since Lan Zhan doesn't respond to him. We love an unbothered king. Anyways, we find out that all the nets have been cut down by the Lan sect, with the stipulation that they'll receive the nets back after the night hunt is over. Jiang Cheng is bitter and proceeds to leave. Later on, we see the disciples, unsuccessful in their attempt to find any monsters. Lan Suji asks an old gravekeeper if anything strange is going on in Dafan Mountain, with the gravekeeper directing them to a temple at the top of the mountain, where a dancing fairy statue resides. Thinking that more clues could be found there, the disciples venture out to the temple. Separately, Wei Ying also makes the move to venture up there due to his own suspicions of what's going on. Oh, and Jinling also arrives with his own entourage. While not really sold on the reputation of this statue, he nonetheless makes a wish to it, asking that the monster in Dafan Mountain shows up immediately, right in front of him. And then the statue decides to crack a smile. Wei Ying arrives and uses some talismans on the statue, but that doesn't really stop her from moving anyways, so they all make a run for it. Jinling tries to battle the statue, but Wei Ying knows that he's no match for her, so he borrows Lan Jingyi's sword to cut some bamboo nearby and fashions himself a makeshift flute. He starts playing it, and just as Jinling is about to be smacked by the statue lady, a chained man appears from the forest and makes pretty quick work with her, destroying the statue with ease. So, the man that just appeared is named Wen Ning, otherwise known as the Ghost General. Interestingly enough, pretty much everyone, Wei Ying included, thought that Wen Ning died 16 years ago. Due to his fearsome reputation and affiliation with the Yiling Patriarch, everyone at the scene tries to attack him. Since Wei Ying's melodies stirred up Wen Ying's temper, he tries to pacify him with a different tune. While doing so, Lan Zhan appears behind him and grabs his arm, the two looking longingly at each other. And, I mean, what more can I say here? It's very clear Lan Zhan knows that Wei Ying is behind the mask. After playing the flute some more and getting Wen Ying to leave, Wei Ying grabs Lan Zhan's arm and, oh my gosh, 16 years later and they're finally reunited. You're probably not gonna have that much of a reaction if you're a first time watcher, but that second go around, oh my god, it just hits different. Of course, this sweet moment has to be ruined by Jiang Cheng, who, upon arrival, starts hearing that Wen Ying is back and was called forward by the guy playing the flute. Uh-oh. Jiang Cheng pieces it together rather quickly and tries to attack Wei Ying with his purple lightning, but Lan Zhan isn't having it and blocks the attack with his chin. He's still able to get a hit on Wei Ying anyways, but the result actually shocks Jiang Cheng. The reason being, purple lightning is able to recognize souls that are in possession of another's body. With Wei Ying, however, the weapon didn't react, causing others to doubt Jiang Cheng's initial assumption. Jiang Cheng asks Wei Ying who he really is, and Wei Ying honestly has had enough and just faints. And this is where we flash back to 16 years ago, with Wei Ying happy and what's this? With Jiang Cheng, who also looks happy? So, this was the part during my first watch when I realized that those two are actually brothers. Technically, Wei Ying was adopted into the family, but whether biological or not, it doesn't matter. These two are sworn brothers. Now, if you were paying attention to the dialogue in the first two episodes, then this shouldn't come as a surprise. But here's the thing. I did not know who these characters were at first, and which names connected to which characters. So, needless to say, I was still pretty surprised. The third person in this trio is Jiang Yanli, often referred to as a senior sister by the brothers. I'm gonna talk more about her later on, but just wanted to say that she's a literal ray of sunshine. I love her so much. So, the siblings, along with their own disciples, are on the road. They're headed to Cloud Recesses, the home base of the Gusu Lan sect. Other clans will be in attendance as well, with the express purpose of them studying under the guidance of the Lan. Since it's been a long trip, the siblings decide on staying the night at the town's inn. One problem though, it's already booked out. Yeah, instead of bringing just a couple of disciples along the journey like you're supposed to, Jin Zixuan decides to show up with a whole unit, essentially clearing the inn of all availability. Jin Zixuan, by the way, is the heir of the Lanling Jin sect. We'll talk more about him later. Anyways, the siblings don't really have much of a choice but to leave, which honestly is a bit fucked up once you realize that both clans have agreed to an arranged marriage between Yanli and Jin Zixuan. Like, you couldn't even have the courtesy to find some way to make accommodations for your future wife and her sect? Kind of makes one wonder if this arranged marriage is really the best thing for Yanli. So, instead of resting, the siblings and their disciples continue on their journey and later make it to Cloud Recesses. There is another problem though. The siblings left their invitations back at the inn by mistake, so now they can't even enter Cloud Recesses. Doesn't matter who you say you are, if you don't have your invitation, you can't enter. Also arriving is Lan Zhan, with some disciples behind him carrying a body. Now, this is the part where, chronologically, Wei Ying meets Lan Zhan for the first time. And because Wei Ying was pleading too much to grant them entry, Lan Zhan puts a temporary silencing spell on him, which is honestly kind of hilarious. The silencing spell in general is a great source of comedy. Seeing Wei Ying visibly whine about it cracks me up. But yeah, the Lan sect isn't gonna allow entry unless invitations are present, so Wei Ying makes the trip back to the inn to retrieve those invitations. Except, never mind, cause later that night, Lan Zhan allows everyone else entry after informing his older brother. Anyways, Wei Ying comes back with the invitations and alcohol, but finds that everyone else is gone. He decides to let himself in after breaking the entrance barrier, and while climbing on a roof, encounters Lan Zhan once again. Lan Zhan isn't too pleased by the multiple rules Wei Ying broke in a single night, and after Wei Ying tries to get through, the two get into a fight. And what a beautiful fight, if I do say so myself. Two gorgeous men, all decked out in white, flashing swords and performing stylish moves, all while getting this beautiful backdrop of a full moon. Eventually though, the fight ends. Wei Ying calls Lan Zhan relentless, unreasonable, and rigid, and Wei Ying gets his mouth shut for the second time that day. Lan Zhan then takes Wei Ying to his older brother and uncle. This is where we meet clan leader Xichen and clan elder Lan Xichen. Wei Ying gets disciplined by having to transcribe the Lan principles 300 times, but he also finds out that Lan Zhan let the rest of the Jiang sect in, which kind of raises Wei Ying's opinion of him. Also in the same room is that body from earlier, which they later determined to be some kind of controllable puppet manipulated by wicked sorcery. Speaking of wicked sorcery, let's talk about the Qichan Wen sect. This is, again, one of the 5 main sects, and they're pretty much the bad guys here. Clan leader Wen Rohan speaks to Wen Qing and basically gives her instruction to infiltrate cloud recesses with the purpose of locating a shard of the Yin Iron. I'll talk more about the Yin Iron later, but basically there's 4 shards. Wen Rohan already has one of them, and he wants the other 3 with the nefarious purpose of becoming more powerful and building out his wicked puppet army. Wen Qing accepts her mission with the added request that she bring her younger brother along as well. Wen Rohan also meets with Xu Yang, a guest disciple with his own agenda, and basically tells him that I'll fulfill my end of the bargain once all 4 pieces of the Yin Iron are in my hands. We don't really know what Xu Yang's request to Wen Rohan was, but regardless, he also departs. One thing about Xu Yang that I find really funny is that this man is almost always smiling, and smiling in that evil, exaggerated sort of way. Like, I'm sorry, I just have to laugh. He's so campy and ridiculous with his expressions. It's almost like he's meant to be a queer-coded Disney villain. Honestly, I find him more hilarious than scary, but that's just me. Okay, now we arrive at what's commonly referred to as the Cloud Recesses study arc. I mean, I guess it technically started last episode with us arriving at Cloud Recesses, but for the next 4 episodes, this is the part of the story where all the major clans, specifically the younger clan members and their disciples, meet up at Cloud Recesses to receive lecture and guidance from the Lan sect. In the interest of time, I'm gonna be a bit more brief here and essentially try to summarize the highlights. I'll also be jumping around different episodes just to talk more about specific characters in question and their story throughout this arc, so if you've already watched the show and wonder why I'm going out of order, there's your reason. I will say though, I absolutely love this arc. It's pretty chill, we get most of the main characters in one location, and I don't know, I just think it's a good time. So, with all that said, let's get into it. During the opening ceremony, the clans in attendance take turns offering gifts while introducing themselves to the main teacher in question, Lan Xichen. First up is the Lanling Jin clan, presented by Jin Zixuan. His role in this arc is fairly minimal. There is some kind of vibe going on between him and Yanli, but that all comes crashing down when he admits to not wanting this arranged marriage in the first place. Wei Ying hears this, gets pissed off, and the two get into a fight. Ultimately, the 2 clan leaders and parents of Jin Zixuan and Yanli arrive to discuss the incident, with Yanli's dad, clan leader Jiang Fengmian, calling off the marriage. And honestly, kudos to him for caring about his daughter's well-being enough to make that call. Jin Zixuan just wasn't it, and didn't appear to really value Yanli all that much. Up next is the Qinghu Nie clan, presented by clan heir Nie Huaisang and assisted by Meng Yao. So, Nie Huaisang is someone I would describe as unserious. He's kind of a goofy man, and I have to appreciate him for it. He and Wei Ying pretty much hit it off immediately, being the one guy to entertain Wei Ying's more mischievous nature. They catch fish together in the back hill of cloud recesses, they mess around during class and throw things, they get drunk together, along with Jiang Cheng, surprisingly. He even lets Wei Ying borrow a book with pornographic illustrations, which Wei Ying uses to prank Lan Zhan with, which is honestly kind of wild. So yeah, Nie Huaisang generally just seems like an easygoing guy that likes to have fun, doesn't take himself too seriously. I also want to give a mention to his assistant, Meng Yao. His time during this arc is very short. He pretty much leaves right after the intro ceremony. What is revealed about him though is his good relationship with Xichen and the fact that he's an illegitimate son of clan leader Jin Zixuan, who we saw earlier during that marriage conversation. You kind of feel bad for Meng Yao. He's nice and respectful, but looks to have a rocky past based on some gossip, basically being refused acceptance from the Lanling Jin sect and kicked out due to his illegitimate status. It really illustrates how much of a piece of shit Jin Zixuan is early on, but his whole deal is beyond the scope of this video, so I'll leave it at that. Next up was supposed to be Jiang Cheng and the Jiang clan in general, but surprise! Against all expectations, the Wen clan decides to show up, so I'll talk about them first. With Wen Chao, I'll be quick. He's the younger son of Wen Rohan, and he's evil. That's it, literally all you need to know about this character. His response to being denied entry to Cloud Recesses due to not having the invitations was to take one of the Lan disciples and set his neck on fire. And he would have killed him too, had Wen Qing not stepped in. Wen Qing literally had to remind that bitch that this is a secret investigation and to not draw unwarranted attention. Of course, Wen Chao's need to be evil trumps all other critical thinking skills, so I guess we can also call him stupid. Thank God he was only there to escort Wen Qing and her brother. I would have been so annoyed if he stayed around this arc. Speaking of Wen Qing, she and her younger brother, Wen Ning, are next. For as much hatred as I have for Wen Chao, I have even more love for the Wen siblings. These two are like everything to me. So, a bit of context here. Wen Qing basically leads a subdivision within the Wen clan and comes from a family of doctors, herself being very proficient in the practice. As skilled as she is, however, she can't seem to cure her younger brother of whatever ailment he has going on, which kind of gets to her. Nonetheless, her brother is the most important thing in her life. She cares about his well-being and is very protective over him. And that's what makes things tricky for Wen Qing. Because Wen Rohan has ultimate authority over the Wen clan, she's kind of forced to be on the side of evil and do his bidding while trying to locate the Yin Iron Shard. If she doesn't comply, who knows what could happen to Wen Ying as punishment. And so, she tries to keep to herself while looking for the Yin Iron Shard. Tries being the key word here, as Wei Ying is more than happy to bug her when the two cross paths. Though I do think she secretly grows to appreciate Wei Ying more as time goes on, mainly due to him looking out for Wen Ying's well-being. Anyways, Wen Qing is great. For Wen Ying specifically, I gotta say, he is an absolute cinnamon roll, like no question. So wholesome, so sweet and innocent. He just needs to be protected at all costs. Now, if you remember back in episode 2, Wen Ying showed up as the Ghost General and looked pretty different from 16 years ago. I'm not going to divulge what specifically happened between the past and present, but I just want you to know that Wen Ying did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing. He is a good boy who's trying to make it in life, and I refuse to accept any other answer. But sticking to the past, we know that Wen Ying is a proficient archer, impressing Wei Ying with his skills. The two form a nice bond, and Wei Ying shows his care and concern for Wen Ying by gifting his sister a talisman that's meant to protect him. So yeah, overall, he's amazing, so is his sister. I love them both. Alright, now we can get into the Jiang clan. I'll just talk about Jiang Cheng and Yanli here. It makes more sense to give Wei Ying his own section with Lan Zhan. So, Jiang Cheng, where to start with him? It's very clear he has a negative relationship with Wei Ying in the present, but what about the past? Well, obviously their relationship is much better, much more stable, but even back then the two had their differences. For one, Jiang Cheng is someone that cares about his reputation, cares about his image and the overall image of his clan. So, when he sees Wei Ying play around, be mischievous, challenge authority, all that runs contrary to what Jiang Cheng wants, because now it feels like Wei Ying is bringing the family negative attention and shame. Now, to be fair, Jiang Cheng isn't completely above breaking the rules himself, as he participated in getting drunk along with Wei Ying and Nie Huaisang. Though, after getting caught and disciplined, it's clear he regrets it. But yeah, generally, Jiang Cheng is pretty careful with not getting himself into trouble. At the same time though, Wei Ying's unrestrained free spirit is also reminiscent of Jiang clan ancestors, and the very same quality that endears his adopted dad to him, to the point where Jiang Cheng feels like Wei Ying is favored over him. So now there's an additional level of insecurity on top of the reputation concerns. In spite of all that, however, Jiang Cheng still cares about his brother, and worries for him too. He's very blunt and harsh with his words, but he does love his family at the end of the day, and Wei Ying is part of that family. Also, he has this cute little crush on Wen Qing. I think it's adorable. Overall, Jiang Cheng is a pretty multifaceted character. Again, how he grows to resent Wei Ying in the present is something you're just gonna have to discover for yourself. Up next is Yanli. Y'all, I love Yanli. I really do. I said this before, but she is a literal ray of sunshine, like the human personification of goodness. Honestly, her and Wen Ying are the most wholesome characters in the cast, for sure. Of the siblings, she's not only the supportive older sister, but also the heart of the group. She's such a calming presence, someone that cares deeply about her younger brothers and will give them reassurance and emotional support whenever needed. She also has none of the complicated feelings Jiang Cheng has towards Wei Ying. She understands his free-spirited personality and is more than happy to defend his character when needed. She's also a fantastic cook, often making lotus fruit and pork rib soup for the brothers. Overall, a gentle and pleasant person to be around. Though that didn't seem to be enough for Jin Zixuan. Oh well, his loss. Before I get into Wei Ying and Lan Zhan, there's one more person I'd like to talk about, clan leader Xichen. Now, compared to his younger brother, Xichen has a warmer presence. He's nice, composed, and not really someone to jump into conflict unless absolutely necessary. He's also not as strict as his uncle. even commenting about the harshness of the punishment the boys received due to drinking last night. As clan leader, Xichen is also privy to more information, such as the Yin Iron's existence, and, along with his uncle, is trying to investigate the wicked and dynamic happenings that are starting to pop up more. Overall, he's a reasonable authority figure, and a fairly chill dude. Alright, finally we get into the main duo in question, the playful Wei Ying and the serious Lan Zhan. Oh my goodness, Lan Zhan was not amused with Wei Ying's shenanigans. One of those shenanigans involved Wei Ying attaching a paper drawing of a turtle behind Lan Xichen on the first day of class. The glare Lan Zhan gave Wei Ying after catching on to this? Oh, if looks could kill. Wei Ying would later get in trouble with Lan Xichen for suggesting more taboo cultivation methods, and gets kicked out of class as a result. Lan Zhan, under the order of Lan Xichen, would later find Wei Ying and escort him to the library pavilion, where he has to copy the chapter of conduct 1,000 times. Wei Ying is in that library for 3 days, by the way, with Lan Zhan monitoring him. During this time, Wei Ying tries to chat with Lan Zhan and apologize for the night before where they fought, but it doesn't really amount to much. There is another scene, however, where, after completing his assignment, Wei Ying draws Lan Zhan and gives him the illustration. A very pretty drawing, if I do say so myself. Wei Ying is definitely skilled in the arts. This is also the same scene where Wei Ying pranks Lan Zhan with pornography, almost causing Lan Zhan to fight him before ultimately ripping up the book and telling Wei Ying to piss off. Seeing Lan Zhan this angry was kind of a sight to behold, considering how stoic he usually is. Wei Ying really got a rise out of him that time. Later on, Lan Zhan and Xichen get wind of water ghosts killing people from Kaiyi Town, which is a bit unusual since water ghosts aren't really all that threatening. Anyways, Wei Ying hears about this and he, Jiang Cheng, and Wen Qing all volunteer to come along. Wen Ying also shows up despite his sister's instruction and gets to go too. Once they arrive at the lake where all these incidents happened, they quickly realize that they're not just dealing with any ordinary water ghosts, but their demonized variants, collectively becoming the Aqua Demon. As the Aqua Demon leads everyone to a whirlpool, Lan Zhan tells everyone to ride their swords, which is basically them balancing on their swords while it hovers in the air. While Xichen performs the exorcism, Wei Ying comes to save Wen Ying, but is surprised to see his eyes turn white. Lan Zhan comes to the rescue though, and saves Wei Ying, Wen Ying, and a disciple still on the boat. A pretty crazy experience overall, but the demon was defeated and everyone eventually turned out okay. To celebrate the occasion of taking down the Aqua Demon, Wei Ying and Jiang Cheng get drunk along with Nie Huaisang. Wei Ying starts teasing Jiang Cheng about what his ideal girl is, the boys make a lot of noise, and Lan Zhan catches them red-handed. Before he's able to report this violation, however, Wei Ying slaps on a paper talisman while the other two flee. From my understanding, this talisman basically puts Lan Zhan under Wei Ying's control, with Wei Ying requesting that Lan Zhan have a drink with him. Lan Zhan does as he's told, and it's revealed that he's quite the lightweight. Wei Ying moves him over to a bed. We get a really cute moment of a drunk Lan Zhan trying to adjust his headband, and a more somber moment with the two reflecting over their lack of parents. It's pretty sad actually. Wei Ying lost his parents when he was 4, and only has one memory of them. A happy one, sure, but just one nonetheless. The following morning, everyone including Lan Zhan gets punished by getting their backs beaten by these huge paddles. 300 strikes for Wei Ying and Lan Zhan, 50 for Jiang Cheng and Nie Huaisang. Now this is just absolutely unfair to Lan Zhan. He didn't have any choice in the matter. Wei Ying even says as much, but they all get disciplined anyways. By the way, I'm not a fan of Lan Xichen whatsoever. I think he's a bitch, and feel like Xichen and Lan Zhan deserve far better than the asshole uncle they currently have. Anyways, after they all get disciplined, Xichen advises Wei Ying to head to the cold spring so that his wounds can heal faster. He finds Lan Zhan there, tries to chat with him for a bit, and, in a surprising turn of events, the two get submerged in water and pulled into a cave. And this is where we meet Lan Yi and the cute little bunnies that keep her company. Now, Lan Yi is an interesting character. She was once clan leader of the Gusu Lan sect, and is well known for her killer string, a type of battle technique that uses chin strings. Through Lan Yi's exposition, we finally get more insight into what exactly the Yin Iron is. As she explains, Yin Iron is basically this natural treasure that's able to absorb energy from the universe. Hundreds of years ago, this tyrant known as Shu Chongkai used it for wicked purposes, sacrificing people and feeding its spirits and all kinds of negative and resentful energy. Eventually, the 5 main clans banded together to kill this guy. However, the Yin Iron itself was beyond saving. It has become irreversibly corrupted due to all the negative energy stored within it. As such, the 5 clans made the promise to never speak of it again, with the Yin Iron being broken into 4 pieces and hidden in different locations, all of which housed good energy to suppress its effects. Years later, we have Lan Yi enter the picture. Upon finding out about the Yin Iron's existence, she was later able to deduce where her ancestors hid one of the shards, Old Spring Cave. Basically the cave they're all in right now. Thinking that she could reverse the effects and purify the shard for the sake of her clan, she broke the seal, imprisoning it. That, however, ended up being her biggest mistake, as she not only couldn't purify it, but was also unable to reseal it. So, with no other options, Lan Yi used all her energy to seal herself within Cold Spring Cave, ensuring that the Yin Iron Shard also gets sealed. Now as a spirit, Lan Yi guards the shard to this day. However, her energy grows weaker by the day. On top of that, the initial unsealing of the shard caused other shards to sense it. With the discovery of another Yin Iron Shard that's currently kept by the Wen clan, this effect is only amplified as a result. So now you have a better idea as to how the Wen clan knew to go to Cloud Recesses for the shard in the first place. With all that said, the only way to prevent the Yin Iron from sowing discord and bloodshed is to locate all 4 pieces and suppress them within the Cold Pond. Lan Zhan and Wei Ying both accept this mission, are entrusted with the Yin Iron Shard, and ultimately are sent back out into the surface. And it looks like time moves differently within the Cold Spring Cave, because everyone else outside has been looking for them for the past 24 hours. Anyways, with exception to Xichen and Lan Xichen, the two keep this experience a secret from everyone else. Later that day, everyone convenes together to make sky lanterns. We get this really sweet moment of Wei Ying showing Lan Zhan a rabbit drawing on his lantern, and Lan Zhan actually smiles at this. Oh my gosh. It's for a quick moment and Lan Zhan gets defensive afterwards, but who cares? That smile does not lie. And so they all let go of their lanterns. This scene is another wholesome moment I really love. Once the lanterns are up there, everyone makes a wish. Nie Huaisang wishes to finish his studies so he can leave this place. Wen Qing wishes that her brother is safe and sound for his whole life. And Wei Ying wishes to stand with justice and to live with no regrets. All while Lan Zhan gives him a meaningful glance. Such a beautiful scene overall, and one that's imprinted in my mind. Of course, the serenity eventually comes to an end when Wei Ying and Jin Zixuan fight, which results in the arranged marriage being called off the following day. And after 6 months of being in cloud recesses, the Jiang clan make their formal exit. However, Wei Ying pieces together the fact that Lan Zhan will be traveling alone to retrieve the other Yin Iron shards, so, in the typical Wei Ying fashion, he goes after him. He leaves a note to his family excusing himself and later catches up to Lan Zhan, the two beginning their journey to uncover the remaining Yin Iron shards. And that is where I'll leave it for the premise. With how long this summary was, you might think I already spoiled a lot from the show. In reality though, it was only the first 7 episodes and a small part of episode 8. And remember, this show is 50 episodes, so rest assured that there's still a bunch of surprises in store for you. But yeah, that was my summary. Which now means that I can segue into my overall thoughts and feelings. Starting off with the more presentational aspect, this show looks incredible. Like, so breathtaking. We visit a variety of locations throughout the show, and they're all such a feast for the eyes. Such detailed and intricate set design, to the point where it kind of drives me crazy. There's a lot of other things that I could also comment on. The cinematography, costuming, fight sequences, not to mention the music. Not only is the soundtrack really good, but certain melodies are also incorporated into the plot itself, whether it be through Wei Ying's flute or Lan Zhan's chin. And this goes without saying if you already watched it, but the acting is very good. Even with more ridiculous characters like Xu Yang, I still understood what they were going for, what the fantasy was for that character. But do you want to know something that truly gagged me? Like, genuine shock and surprise? The voices you hear aren't actually coming from the actors themselves. That's right, it's dubbed. Different voice actors are actually the ones doing all the speaking. I hear there's some exceptions, like with Nie Huaisang's actor also dubbing his voice, but for the most part, it's different people. And apparently this is pretty common among Chinese live-action shows. At first, I didn't know how to feel about this. I really thought we were hearing the actors speak in real time, so a part of me almost felt a bit disappointed. However, I found this really good Reddit comment explaining the reasoning behind this, and it made a lot of sense to me. Feel free to pause and give it a read, it's very informative. Plus, I was none the wiser when watching this show, so if it fooled me and a lot of other people, then they must have done a good job with integrating the voices into the actors. So overall, I'm at peace with it. Having said all that, not everything with the show is perfect. For one, the CGI effects aren't the best. I don't think it's too bad in the first few episodes, but there are a few scenes later on where it's not the most convincing. These effects show up sparingly in the show, but still wanted to point it out. Another negative for me was how a good chunk of the villains were kind of one-dimensional. Wen Chao is a very obvious example here. wasn't really much to him other than the fact that he was evil and unpleasant to be around. Not all the villains are like this. There is one in particular with pretty good characterization that I will not spoil, but overall the villains were not too compelling. There were also a few moments where the audio just disappeared, along with the subtitles. This only happened a few times, but it was still a bit jarring. That, or in episode 25's case, the audio being far behind, or the subtitles being far ahead of what's currently going on, which made that episode a bit more difficult to understand. Not a problem with the show itself, just some audio and subtitle issues for whatever reason. One other thing, the advertisements, which start to show up in the second half of the series. Not a negative whatsoever, but their existence kind of sends me. Seeing Wei Ying advertise some drink or Lan Zhan slurping some ready-to-eat meal takes me out. Also, there was at least one instance where an ad showed up right after a very emotional scene, which gave me severe whiplash. But hey, get your money, I guess. Above everything else though, the Untamed was a journey for me. It really was. The amount of emotions I went through when watching this show is kind of unusual for me. I know my VTuber model has this cute little crying expression I occasionally use, but in reality, I don't cry all that much. It usually takes quite a bit for me to tear up. Having said that, I cried multiple times while watching The Untamed. If I were to count, maybe like 5 or 6 times. And that is mainly a testament to how strong the character writing in this show is. You will fall in love with a lot of these characters and grow to care about their happiness and well-being. So when all that comes crashing down and bad things happen, you're not going to be prepared. You're just not. So take it from me and understand what you're getting into, because this show will rip your heart out and tear it to shreds. Trust and believe. Of course, this show isn't all doom and gloom. It's actually quite funny a lot of the time. And there's also a mystery element to the series that I found engaging as well. Some surprises genuinely left me shook, especially when you get to the last 10 episodes. If I had to point out the show's biggest strength, however, it would definitely be the relationships and how they develop over time. I can talk at length about the Jiang or Wen siblings and how much their bonds mean to me. For now though, I'll just settle on the main relationship in question, Wei Ying and Lan Zhan. Even though I only covered the beginning of their story, I just want you to know that these two go through so much growth together, and you really start to piece together why these two are basically soulmates. Even though they have wildly different personalities, their growth together is nothing short of electrifying. Like, they are meant for each other, and you can't tell me otherwise. And the fact that this was accomplished in spite of the censorship of explicit gay relationships in media is pretty impressive. The production team really worked overtime to make sure the subtext was strong in this one, and I couldn't be more grateful. So yeah, issues aside, I do genuinely think The Untamed is a masterpiece. Maybe I have a case of recency bias, but I just had such a magical experience with this show, truly unlike anything I've ever watched before. With that said, that's my video on The Untamed. Definitely one of my longer videos, So if you stuck around for this long, I really do appreciate it. Thank you. I can definitely see myself revisiting this franchise at some point. I mean, just take a look at all of these adaptations. Even the Untamed itself has 2 spin-off movies, so I'm more than curious to check those out as well. Before I close this video out, I just want to give a special thank you to all the love and support I received on my last video. I had no idea my Addicted video would get 14,000 views, not to mention all the lovely comments you guys left me. So, just wanted to say, thank you for all the support, all the likes and comments, and all the new subscribers that joined along the way. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.